If you want to build an audience off brain-dead zombies in an infinite scroll loop swiping their thumb because their serotonin levels are doped, you can do that, and it'll last a very short amount of time. But ultimately, your channel will end, and you will have built something. What will you have built? All right, thank you very much. Welcome to a debate. I think this is very interesting. I've never done a debate in my life. Sabrina is a formidable opponent. She's extremely knowledgeable, quick-witted. I know you to be an incredibly high integrity person, and I'm excited to be...
You're supposed to say mean things.
You're not supposed to talk while I'm talking. And I find this to be incredibly interesting. I've never done anything like this, and so what I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna try to persuade you, the audience, to come to my way of thinking. And my position is that when entertainment leads, education loses. And I think I have pretty good arguments for that. Also, I just wanna let you off the hook, Sabrina, because I do understand that you also acknowledge that education is great. I watched a video of yours today that I'll describe as a part of my argument. I'm gonna use you against you, obviously. But I just wanna let Sabrina off the hook. What we're trying to do is have a debate in order to sharpen both of us, okay? It's not reasonable to say that Sabrina is gonna argue for the Mr. Beastification of YouTube. That's not what's happening. It's not reasonable to think that I'm going to argue for we should all just do monotonous, like Bueller style classroom teaching. That's not what we're doing. We are taking positions that we were assigned so that we can explore this space together, and I'm very excited about it. That's enough said. I'll get on to some of my reasons. The first thing I'm going to say is I think that capturing attention for entertainment purposes is altogether different from making an emotional appeal to encourage a person to learn. So yeah, we gotta get our pens going, right? So I think that entertainment, when I think of entertainment, I think of sensationalism, doing things specifically to just capture attention. Attention and the ability to teach are two different things. And I think if we focus on just capturing that attention, it ultimately harms our ability to educate others. So, for example, the Socratic method. The Socratic method involves asking questions of the student so that you're trying to draw from within the student things that they can build on themselves. They can understand things. And when you ask questions, you're inviting the student to participate at the level at which they want to participate. For example, do you think it's a good idea for us to let sensationalism run rampant on YouTube? Do you think that? I don't think you do. I think you believe what I believe, and I'd like to lay that out over the course of this debate. Another thing that I'm gonna argue, and we'll cover this later, is I just think sensationalism doesn't make good videos. Maybe it had its time in the young internet when we thought we knew what was going on, but that's changed. I'm gonna make an argument for sensationalism is dead. I wanna have that conversation, okay? Another thing is I wanna explore clickbait because that's just gonna be fun. That's gonna be really fun. And one other point that I want to make is long-term creator health. I think when we let the algorithm influence us as creators making educational content, I think ultimately it harms the teachers. And if you don't have teachers, you don't have the school, and you don't have education. So I think there's a good argument to be made for getting a sustainable pace that can take you the distance in terms of your educational career. So I think that's a good argument. Ultimately, it's about the connection between the student and the teacher. And I know you, Sabrina, to be a fantastic teacher, and I'm honored that you're here. I'm a little scared to be opposite of you, because if you've never seen what Sabrina does on Answer in Progress, singular, not plural, if you've never seen what Sabrina does, I highly recommend you check it out. It's very thoughtful, it's very intelligent, and you will grow by listening to what Sabrina has to say. That's my opening.
All right, thank you very much, Destin. Next up is going to be Sabrina Cruz with her opening.
I think his strategy was to fluster me with compliments. I have also never done a formal debate before, because conflict makes me want to cry a little bit. So I'm probably going to do this wrong. I'm Sabrina from Answer in Progress, as Destin mentioned. We make YouTube videos documenting the adventure from question to answer. Our strategy fundamentally relies on letting entertainment lead. So obviously, I am here to argue the negative. When entertainment leads, education, what was the negative? Education.
Loses?
But the opposite of
The
that.
opposite of that, it wins?
Wins? Does it-
Okay.
Okay,
So-
education wins.
So say it again. So when
When entertainment leads, education wins, or at least it doesn't lose, okay? I'm not gonna try and make my job harder. I'm gonna assume that a lot of you agree with me, because holding attention, guiding it carefully, is kind of the foundation of good storytelling and good communication. It is the thing that makes our job so hard, but so fulfilling. But the reason I said yes to this debate is for the same reason Destin did, which is I don't think it's as simple as, yes, obviously attention is important. I want to earnestly grapple with what this means, so we're not arguing like Mr. Beast versus a textbook. I am really interested in what it means. Like, could this be a death by 1,000 cuts? Oversimplifying content, cutting out context, maybe even avoiding subjects entirely because they're just not getting clicks. This is all of the things that could potentially be harmful to learners, and also is just another thing that creators have to think about in a world where we have so much to think about. Am I doing a good job of arguing in the defense of entertainment right now? Well, it's just like, as our attention becomes more fragmented, I am worried that creating with attention in mind can turn education, the way that we learn, into just another commodity. I think that a lot of us are worried about that, are worried about this pressure that, like, what is the retention graph gonna look like? What are the first 3 minutes, first 30 seconds, first 7 seconds? That's a stat now that people tell me. You gotta hook them in 7 seconds. You gotta prove that this is a thing worth making. And that worries me, especially because I am somebody who thinks a lot about that. I am making videos with entertainment first by design. So this debate has sent me into a bit of an existential spiral, and I thought about it. And ultimately, I actually do back entertainment first. We went on a spiral, guys. And I want to explain why I think this is important through the context of a video that I made that was very entertainment first. At one point in my life, I had terrible memory, and I wanted to understand how memory works. So I did the thing that a lot of science communicators do. I did a bunch of research, I interviewed some experts, and then I personally memorized 3,141 digits of pi, booked out a theater, and then recited it to an audience full of strangers. Every time I messed up, I ate a hot chili pepper. This is the most Mr. Beast educational content could get. And I'll admit it, none of that was necessary in the adventure. But it sure helped with the retention. It sure helped people remember things. And was that a disservice to the people watching the videos?
One minute?
I'm gonna quote what experts said in the first 3 minutes of the video. Professor Morgan Berens from the Memory Lab in the University of Toronto, she said that the most important part of memory in an event is to pay attention. If you don't give your brain a chance to encode a moment, to remember it, you're never going to be able to retain it. And that's the same thing for education, for learning. How are you going to learn a lesson if you are too busy doom scrolling? So I think right now, more than ever, it is the responsibility of creators to understand the attention economy, the landscape that we live in, and to put up a fight for education, and to let people realize that, like, this is something magical. Sure, we're gonna do something a little bit stupid, but you're gonna learn something, and you're gonna fall in love with learning and recognize the magic.
All right, all right. Thank you guys for your opening arguments. What type of chili peppers were you using, by the way?
I don't know. It was the one that was on sale at the grocery store right beside the theater.
So nothing crazy like Ghost Chili Pepper or Carolina Reaper?
I have eaten one of those for a different video.
All right. All right, so now we're going to reach into cross-examination. Each of you guys is going to have 3 minutes to attack the other side's position of what their opening statement was. Starting with Destin, starting now, you have 3 minutes.
What you said was correct. I can't argue it. I remember the fact that you rented out a theater and you quoted the digits of pi, and it blew my mind, and I was so impressed by your courage, and I cared. You made me care. So, and I think that a lot of that had to do with the fact that I know you and I appreciate you. However, I started researching this, and I found some research from back in 2014 when I was making videos that are now private on my YouTube channel that I showed you the other day about, you know, the William Tell bow and arrow shot, things like that. And you were guest starring on Vlogbrothers. I remember these days. So, back in 2014, there was a research study done, and there's a term that researchers have called seductive details. So in Computers and Human Behavior in 2014, there was an article written called Seductive Details Can Distract from Learning. And what it means is, if you're flying a helicopter, this is a thing that we do in the Army. I was a flight test engineer for the Army. When you're flying a helicopter, you're focused. You have to do a certain thing, and you can easily become task saturated, where the details around you, oh, change the radio frequency. What was the airport code again? Oh, we have to get our meteorology data. You can become task saturated and you can lose focus on the task at hand. There's a way to measure this. It's called the Cooper-Harper Index. It's an interesting thing, scale 1 to 10 of how confused you get. And just by the nature of me bringing up the fact that it's called Cooper-Harper, you stopped caring about what I was talking about, because I was distracting you with details that didn't matter anymore, right? So what they learned is that, and there was another paper that was done that did similar things by the American Psychological Association, Seductive Details and Attention to Distraction, an eye tracker experiment. They use all these things to grab attention, but ultimately it distracts from the ultimate goal, which is understanding of the contents. So I think I think what can happen is, yes, you had me at chili pepper, you had me at memorizing pi, but the reason I cared about what you were doing on that stage is because I know you, and I was connecting to you. So I think there's a case to be made that says, ultimately, it's not about the spectacle, it's not about the sensationalism, it's about the relationship, even if it's one-directional, between the student and the teacher. You were demonstrating in that experiment that you just said, you were just demonstrating bravery, courage, what it's like to do a hard thing in front of people. That's why I care. And so I think ultimately it's not about a chili pepper, it's not about the digits of pi. What number did you fail the first one on? What digit was it?
It was like somewhere in the thousands.
That's crazy. So it's about the fact that you went for it. That's why I cared. And so I think the connection between the student and the teacher is the key, and it's the storytelling that gets us there. And I think
That's time.
He's so respectful.
Awesome, great. This isn't their presidential debates. All right, and next up for 3 minutes is Sabrina, and then we're gonna have a 5-minute, you guys can just converse with each other, okay?
Thank goodness. Should I start?
Yes, please.
Oh, hello. Okay, it's very sweet that Destin's argument is ultimately the power of friendship, but I think he's kind of distracting you guys. You see, if we remember, if we take our memory back to his opening argument, if you notice, it was structured in a very specific way. It was a numbered list, which the internet loves. It was designed, and we all know from BuzzFeed's rise and somewhat fall, that the numbered list works. Not only was it a numbered list, it was a list of 3. It was very poetic. And I think that there's something to be said about the way that you are convincing the audience right now. Everyone loves you, everybody knows you, but you are using the exact same tricks that we are specifically saying are like, this is attention grabbing. Maybe you didn't mean to do this, but it works. It's because you are naturally thinking about the person that you are writing to. You are caring about them. To hold their attention isn't necessarily sensationalism. You brought it up a lot in your opening argument. But I like to think of it as care, as respect. Because we aren't saying that letting entertainment lead is necessarily about the widest scope of attention. If I heard the definition correctly, it is about holding attention. Holding it, like a hug, if you will. Because we don't need as many people to view a piece as possible. Some things are meant to be broad scope. I personally make content that is broad scope. I want somebody who is just scrolling through the internet, randomly looking for vaguely entertaining things, and then they click on a video, and then they get jump scared by some vegetables, which is like neuroscience. But I'll be honest, Destin, your videos, you also do this thing. You love an arrow in the thumbnail. You love a good, shocking hook. That's not a bad thing. But you know your audience. You use thumbnails that entice them. And I don't think that comes from a place of shallowness. I don't think that comes from a place of callousness. I think that comes from a place of love. The very thing that you were saying, that relationship between the teacher and the student. We care about people, and so we respect their attention. Time.
Let me just say you guys are way nicer to people than most of the guys I'm dealing with in court. All right, so 5-minute open exchange. Feel free to converse with each other. All I ask is that you guys don't shout over each other, except apparently in odes of love and friendship.
Well, I would like to do a thought experiment with you.
All right, I'm gonna start.
I would like to do a thought experiment. So we do know that clickbait is a thing that you kind of have to do to play the game. So I will concede that there is an element of attention grabbing that has to happen in order to even get the audience to come to the table.
Of course.
Point conceded. I would like to game out with you what it would look like to ultimately lead with entertainment in a thumbnail. So let's think of like the natural progression of what is the most attention grabbing thumbnail we could think about. What
we
would that
gotta
be?
have an open face, eyes to the camera.
Okay.
Pointing at a thing.
Yeah.
I'm describing every Smarter Everyday thumbnail.
Yeah, you are. Yeah. So what if, like, I think something, if we're leading with entertainment and we just don't care, all rules are off. We're trying to get the maximum number of people to the video. Might I suggest something like, how many nuns does it take to stop a 50 cal?
That's too many words for a thumbnail, Destin.
That's too many words for a thumbnail.
Come on, man.
Okay.
You're gonna hit the character limit in a title.
Okay, what else, what should we do?
I think, interestingly enough, we actually have found that the most attention-grabbing thumbnails are simple. It's an iconic image. Eyes and faces do well in the thumbnail because our eyes are naturally like looking for other human beings. But the best thumbnails are actually just really good graphic design with a really clear, singular focus. Now, if you want to argue that like that is an oversimplified message, if that like means that we could only make visual stories, I'll concede that. Is that the point you're trying to make?
I think you're making my point with me. I agree, and I recently ran a test. YouTube has a new A/B feature. Have you seen it?
Yes, it's a nightmare.
Yes, you've got 3 slots for thumbnails and 3 titles. I ran a test the other day, and I noticed that I made these really bright-looking good thumbnails, quote, good thumbnails, but it was the normal thumbnail that wasn't even color corrected well of me going like, hey, here's the thing, in the moment, not even edited, that performed the best. And that shocked me. So it makes me think that maybe at one point, I don't want to say names, but maybe the sensationalism on YouTube has changed, and maybe we're coming back towards, the pendulum is swinging back towards normalcy. People want to connect, they want to learn. So I think interested people are interesting, and you should just say the interesting thing. Like the book, I'm sorry, I'm taking the time. You started a YouTube short, which I don't like. I don't do shorts.
Oh, yeah. I ripped a book in half to explain the different structure of a book. It was a mass-produced paperback, like the millionth print run. The comments were very upset, but the retention was so good.
I think what was interesting is you started the book, and you said, have you ever felt like an idiot while reading a book? And you held up a book, and it was a French translation of Sisyphus.
That's a different TikTok. Apparently, I've made several TikToks about books.
So I think that's interesting. You went right to the hard thing, right to the vegetables. I don't even, by the way, I don't know what Sisyphus is. Please tell me later. But I think you are starting, and what you're so good at is you're leading with the vegetables, but you're doing it in a compelling, engaging way.
But did I lead with the vegetables of explaining what Sisyphus was, or did I did try and grab people's attention by saying, are you an idiot? I am.
I felt like an idiot. Yeah, and that was compelling, because I think in order to be compelling, you have to be a person of character that has credibility, and you are those things. Therefore, you are compelling. Dr. Steve Bateman said that. So I think you are compelling, and that's why I'm locked in when I see you come on the screen. And so what would you say? Because I think you kind of lead with the vegetables, Sabrina.
This is news to me. I've led with the vegetables this whole time. I think... I'm flustered once more. I think that there is a false dichotomy being drawn here between being a good storyteller about being captivating, and then somehow drawing a line that somehow says that doesn't count. That's not the type of attention grabbing that I want. I think that what it really is like, attention grabbing is this kind of cynical thing. It plays on the weakest parts of our brain. But the hard part, the thing that makes our job fulfilling, is like using that to the advantage of the learner, to like respecting them and their time, and like acknowledging they might have a weakness, but like being like, this is still a good thing. You could still enjoy and learn.
So I'm just gonna back up what you just said. So Maria Molinas, the assistant professor of advertising and public relations at Michigan State, who researches clickbait, she said, we wanted to explore in more depth what clickbait does, but when we analyzed the results of our study...
time?
Oh, it's so good.
We don't get to know?
Can I say...
Can I offer him some of my time?
Well, I mean, your guys' time and stuff was over. At least for the cross-examination,
Give me the quote to read if I could say it. I'll say it.
Hey, you guys are way too friendly, by the way. Like, this would not work in
Which
court.
part was it?
The red one.
It's the red one. Oh, it's bright red.
All right,
A man who leads with entertainment.
So for the next section, we are going to take some questions from the audience. The first question is going to be from the live stream audience, but the next two are going to be from the audience that's here in this hall with us. The first question,
ask, what's the quote?
And the first question is going to be, what is the most important educational moment of each of your lives, and what place did entertainment have, if any, in those moments? And just to be nice, and just to make things a little bit more random, let's start with Sabrina's response, and you have 1 minute starting... well, assuming my phone won't work. Now.
Okay, I'm actually gonna answer the question. We'll care about the quote later. My first memory of this like most meaningful education experience is being a child, the lights turn off, the trolley with the TV comes rolling in, VHS tape. Bill Nye the Science Guy. It's so good. And like, it is this thing that was so delightful.
It's entertaining.
It's entertaining, because honestly, and like maybe I don't remember every Bill Nye lesson, because every Bill Nye lesson was just a trip and a delight. But I remembered thinking, oh, this is what it could feel like. Learning can be exciting. It can be fun. It can be silly.
Seconds.
That's actually all I had to say. Love Bill Nye, shout out.
Hey, awesome. All right, and now, Destin, what's your response to that?
I'm going to appeal to emotion. So I think, I got nothing, Sabrina. So I think I went through school trying to learn the sciences, science, technology, engineering, math. Sabrina has a math degree, I'm an engineer. But what I've started to learn as I get older is that the humanities, which I never read Chaucer, I didn't know things like that. I'm starting to speed run the humanities. And the reason I'm learning these things is because of how I interact with other people. And I had a moment. The question is, what was your most intense educational moment? And the educational moment I had involved me thinking I was safe in a situation that I was not. And I argued with a person that you should let me climb that tower. And he said, I will not, because you will die. I was like, you're stupid. That happened. Somebody died later that day climbing a tower in the area. And I realized I can be wrong. And I learned a lot. Was that my time?
Oh, now it is.
Okay.
All right.
I was
all right.
wrong.
So we're, all right, yes.
Microphone.
So Destin has used scientists as evidence for this, and maybe this sort of raises the question, is this a question that should be answered by an sensationalist, entertaining debate, or should it be answered by science?
And just because it was directed towards Destin?
Okay, so that is an interesting question. And what I have found reading stuff is the answer has changed over time, or at least it seems to what I've found. There was a time when people said, hey, if you can make this exciting, it'll be good for people. I think Derek Muller's PhD topic was on this. Another thing I found is that as it's going along, I think sensationalism is dying. I think everybody's tired of it. Nobody cares if you ramp a train into a hole. Nobody cares. Bring value to my life. And so I think now we're in a very different position than we were in the Bill Nye the Science Guy days. That was no doubt backed up by research and money that this is how you reach a younger audience. So I would say science probably, I don't know the answer, science will probably point to a change in this over time.
10 seconds.
And it probably has a lot to do with the cultural zeitgeist of the day. And you get a response, I think.
I think so.
Yes, your time starts now.
It's very sweet of you to call this sensationalist. I think that the reason why I think it's important for us to have this debate right now, in this room specifically, is because of who is in this room, right? There might be a scientifically correct answer. I don't believe there will be, if I'm honest, because we hardly know what attention is, let alone what entertainment is, and all of these other definitions that are kind of necessary to approach a question scientifically. But I wanted to be here because I want us all to be thinking about what happens, to be thinking consciously with every choice we make while editing. Because I think that, and I'm assuming we all have to edit in one way or another, you have to care about attention to a certain extent, but like being wary about that line between sensationalism. When are you sacrificing the story? When are you sacrificing the learner versus respecting their attention? And I think
that's done.
Okay, I don't think anything.
You know,
It's a hard
let me
question.
just say, you guys are doing great on being respectful of time and stuff, because, again, that's not something you see every day. So thank you guys very much for doing that. Another audience question? Yes.
Hi, I wanted to get back to something you mentioned at the beginning, which is, I think that entertainment is great in these individual use cases, but what happens to the learner over time? What happens to the educator over time? I've got an 11 and 13-year-old, and they've got a Chromebook for every student in their school, and I think that it's weakening their attention, which is defeating the purpose in the long term. So what about that benefit, the short-term benefit of grabbing attention to the long-term cost of weakening attention?
And let's start off with Sabrina.
Oh no, I wanted more time for this one. Yeah, that is a really, really good point. I can't imagine what it's like to be a kid growing up right now. I do know that I've done a couple of events with a couple of schools with students, and it's like the devices prey on their attention span, but there is still a hunger there to learn, to fall in love, to fall deeply into something, anything. So that's why I think that it is important for the people who are making things to ride that line carefully. I think that you gotta show up on their, basically what I'm saying is, you gotta show up on their TikTok For You page for them to even start eating vegetables nowadays. And I can only hope that there is a bit of a funnel that forms where you get a little bit of vegetables and they're like, I'm a little bit curious about that. Let me deep dive into the Wikipedia page. Let me read the citations in the Wikipedia page.
So I think it's a two-part question. I think the first part is, I think shorts are bad. I'm just gonna accept that as fact. So,
all right.
I said it. So, but also, I think there's a deeper issue because you as a creator, if you start trying to ride this YouTube algorithm, the tail is gonna start wagging the dog. You cannot win. There is no video that you're gonna make that's gonna get enough views that makes you happy and satisfied and feeling good about yourself, because you too are being manipulated by the same algorithms that make money for the corporations that ultimately make our kids idiots. That's my statement. First claps, you see that? So I think, I mean, you're so great, Sabrina.
The mask comes off.
So I do think, and I do have science to back that up. So Mental Health and Lifestyle Medicine Journal, Exploring Mental Health Risk Factors Among Digital Content Creators. The quote from the abstract.
That's time. Sorry, Destin. hey.
I think he's doing it on purpose now. I think that's cliffhanger.
With respect to everyone, okay, next stage is going to be rebuttals. Each side's going to have 3 minutes. If you want to continue your conversation about any particular audience question or just how you guys were talking with each other with cross-examination, now's your time. I'm going to go ahead and start out with, just because you dislike it so much, let's start off with Sabrina.
Oh, no, I was really hoping that it wouldn't start with me. Can I ask for a definition of rebuttal?
All right, so this rebuttal section is just pretty much, you guys had previous questions from the audience. You had your chance to do your opening statements and you cross-examined each other with those. This is just a chance for you to follow up on all of those and kind of come to, a little bit more arguing against each other right now. And if you guys, honestly, the script and stuff is a little bit funny. If you guys want to go ahead and have a little bit more of an open conversation about all these things, that's fine with me. I'm just going to keep track of the time.
Sounds good. Destin, could I read those quotes? It's hard for me to rebut points never made.
Yeah, that's point. Yeah, so the quote at the end there from the abstract, it says, when talking about creators and mental health of the creators, it said, platform-specific pressures such as audience expectations, content censorship, algorithm dependency, and performance metrics obsession were also prominent in poor mental health. Participants frequently reported emotional exhaustion, fear of irrelevance, and lack of institutional support structures. And so I guess the point there is that as content creators, we feel pressure to make, you're right, Sabrina. I can't argue that you can't make an entertaining video. I just can't do that argument. But I think the balance is here, and we got to figure that out. So how do we do that? How do we do that? What do you think we should do?
Okay, so there's this thing about the support, the psychological impact on creators themselves caring about attention. I'm running out of time. That sucks. It totally does. Is attention really the problem there versus just overarching other structures? Like in this room together, I am more excited to talk to you guys about how do we reach people? How do we get people excited? I think it's the isolation that comes with this content creation structure rather than like the thing that makes the job challenging, reaching an audience, getting them to care, getting their attention. I think that it's kind of silly to pretend that that isn't a fundamental part of this.
It is. And I think I'm going for short-term sensationalism. It's almost like a cheat code. Like it's how we can get the views. But I think the ultimate, this is what I found. Sabrina, the first video, Smarter Every Day 1, I'm shooting a shotgun at flaming jars of gasoline.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Still watch that. It's so
I am
good.
a hypocrite number one, okay? But what I found over time is that when I try to build that stuff up, I'm basically building a house on a foundation of sand. Because the people that come for that kind of stuff, that's what they want to see, and they don't care about me. And so,
I'm gonna interject real quick. What I'm gonna do is, because the fact you guys are having such a great conversation right now, let's go ahead and do 3 more minutes of conversation between the two of you. That's gonna be between you guys. And then we're gonna go ahead and start concluding with doing closing arguments where you're gonna be wanting to target that conversation towards the audience, not towards each other, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, so let's go ahead and do the final 3 minutes on this, and
so I
starting
guess
now.
how do we do that? Like, I think.
And I speak to your statement about a foundation of sand. Destin, you are an incredibly successful YouTuber. Your average audience, your baseline viewership is what, 1 million, 2 million?
I try to get 1 million.
Yeah.
Like, I have no control, but I feel good when I get 1 million.
That's not sand, man. You have like almost 1 million people who will watch you because they trust you, because of that relationship you were talking about. And they love it. They fell in love with it. And maybe their first video was, in fact, you shooting a rifle or whatever through some fire. I would click that video. I'm gonna be honest, one of the first videos I saw of you was like of laminar flow, because I was like, yeah, that water looks so smooth. And then I learned what laminar flow was, right? And it's okay to have these entry points.
I think you're right. What I found is that over time, if I reject what YouTube tells me to do and do your videos that you're making. I care about the color of this room because of your most recent video on millennial gray. I care, not from a sensational point of view, this isn't millennial gray, not from a sensational point of view, but because it makes me think about how the economy affects how I decorate my house. And so over time, if you do that thing that you're true to yourself, you will slowly build this audience, and it's a more sustainable growth. Whereas if you just go like, yeah, I don't know, slow motion farts, you know?
I'd watch it, darn it.
But I think what you have to do over time is just build a slow audience based on trust and a connection. And I think we're both arguing the same thing, and we know that.
We are. I'll concede a point, but also make another point.
Okay.
I think that right now it's harder than ever to get anyone's attention. And that is why I think it is okay to lean into something a little bit more clickbaity, a little bit more exciting, because your first video was exciting.
It was.
And you probably have a couple, like everybody has like oh, I could do this sensationalist video, but then I get a couple more ones that are a little bit more gentle, but I do need to make this business work. And I think that's the challenge that a lot of us face. How do we make this business work? How do we get people's attention? And then once we have their attention, what do we do with it? And that is where the thing that you're saying comes in, where like it is a little bit more stable. You don't just do the big explosions and all that stuff, but explosions are cool. We can have some explosions, and then we do some responsible non-explosion stuff, some vegetables.
I mean, I'm gonna level with you. That's a mic drop moment. You did a really good job of articulating that, because I think I can sit here with Smarter Every Day that has a lot of people that trust me. You're somewhere on that same graph, because you're on this. You're not doing this.
Time. Hey, not to be the mean guy. Hey,
so good.
Awesome. You guys, great conversation. So what we're gonna have now is 3 minutes for each side to make that final discussion to the audience, wrap everything up nice and tight, and try to go ahead and push your side to the finish line. All right, we're gonna go ahead and start with Destin with 3 minutes.
Okay, this is my appeal to you. First of all, I want to try to persuade you to think what I think about making content, okay? And that is, you should play the long game. If you cash in your coins for short-term algorithmic gain, you will ultimately undermine the trust that the audience has with you as a creator. If you can slowly build trust over time by doing the right thing, not one time by giving money to a homeless person, but 10,000 little decisions that people don't even see. I've seen her take opportunities that were huge and say, it's not right for me. I've seen her make very difficult decisions, and it's those small decisions that create character. And when you have character coupled with credibility, and the way that you get credibility, Sabrina, is by going to the library. You literally go to the library in your videos. So it's a combination of that character and that credibility, that character and the credibility over time is compelling, and it makes me want to watch what you do. So my appeal is that we should lead with the education, because interested people are interesting. I want to know your thing because you care about it. That's why I care. I must first care because I can see that you care. And once I'm in, boy, am I in. And I think I'm not alone. If you want to build an audience off brain-dead zombies in an infinite scroll loop, swiping their thumb because their serotonin levels are doped, you can do that, and it'll last a very short amount of time. But ultimately, your channel will end, and you will have built something. What will you have built? Will it be something that you'll be proud of 10 years from now? Or is it something that You just did because it was a flash in the pan and you're a moment and you're a forgotten thought in 2 years. You have a choice, like right now. So my statement is be like Sabrina because Sabrina is doing it right. I think you should lead with the education because ultimately, Sabrina, it's not about the video, it's about you. You're why I care.
It's about me.
That's my argument. Yeah.
All right, all right. And now, I mean, shoot, I don't know if we really need it and stuff at this point, but hey, let's do your 3 minutes and stuff for your final argument. Again, as I said, you're being too generous with each other.
I agree with everything Destin said. Darn it. It's all about me, isn't it?
We said that walking in, that we do agree. Can you stop her time for a second? I just want to say thank you for arguing this position. I appreciate it. I mean, we had to have this debate.
We had to. You could start my time again. I'll say that I agree with everything you say. I think if we imagine content consumption as a funnel, right? We imagine learners are like in this world where they're floating around and there's a vacuum with a funnel headpiece. Destin's is really great for that middle bit, right? To turn somebody who's interested into a lifelong learner. But what I'm saying is I want to give them a chance. I want to give them a chance to not just be stuck endlessly scrolling like as a kid, like all you do. I've watched so many videos of little fruits dancing around on, if you have kids, you've seen these videos. If you haven't, I sound like a crazy person. But I want to give young people and like other learners, not even young people, anyone, a chance to realize that there are always questions to be asked and answers that are worth fighting for. And the only way that we can do that is to get their attention. We don't currently control the infrastructure to get there. We have to rely on a handful of platforms owned by like 3 dudes in San Francisco. So what can we do? We have to play the game a little bit. We have to fight for their attention, and then we have to respect what we do with it. And then that's what Destin said. So the real winner was friendship, am I right?
I don't even want to vote anymore.
Yeah. Do a write-in, friendship.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if our politicians all acted this way?
I do wish our politicians acted this way. This was hard. Was this hard for you?
It was.
I was
like,
of
what
you.
are we arguing about?
Yeah.
We just care about each other and for the world and about other people.
Yeah.
Darn.
Yeah,
All right,
I want
all
that
right.
for the world. I really do. I think we can do it. I don't know. So George Kenyon suggested doing this with IMI, and I was scared to do it, but I agreed to do it because I think I've never seen.
You guys got to come up to a close a little bit here, okay?
Okay, we'll land the plane.
All right. Hey.
I wish we could do this more in society. Is my point.
Well, thank you very much. That, everyone, concludes the debate. Destin, Sabrina, thank you very much for taking the time here today and giving us your time. I'm not kidding. You guys are way too friendly for debaters on the stage. Everyone in the audience, you will now have 30 seconds to go ahead and do a vote now based upon what Sabrina and Destin have said. Hey, you guys get back on the stage. Don't run away. All right, that is time. Before the debate, we had, in support of Team Destin, 36% of the voters. with Team Sabrina, 64%. After the debate, we have Team Destin with 47%. And Team Sabrina with 53%.
I wanted 50-50. That would have been so good.
You know, we were super close to 50-50, but based upon voters and the rules of this debate, the winner today is
Friendship.
Destin. Thank you all. Thank you all.